My name is John Benton.
And I'm Vivian Benton, John's wife.
I contracted Lyme disease in March 2009 whilst bushwalking in Ku-ring-gai National Park on the northern beaches of Sydney. 6 to 8 nymph ticks burrowed into my torso, creating bullseye rashes around each site. Now, shortly after, I began suffering from bouts of flu-like symptoms such as body aches, intermittent fever, congestion and headaches. I also seemed to be shrinking within my clothes. These symptoms worsened and other symptoms evolved over times, and over the next 4 years I got steadily worse and local doctors were baffled trying to work out what was wrong. They did numerous tests, including a doctor suggesting to me that I may have cancer, but the tests did not bear that out.
5 years after the infection, John became gravely ill. He had no energy, night sweats, restless leg syndrome, which caused all the bedclothes on the bed to fall off. He suffered intense cold despite being put in a warm bath or packed with hot water bottles all around him. He could not sit up or lie down without help. Walking was a problem. He lost the ability to hold a plate or pull up his bedclothes. And getting into the car, he had to have his legs lifted in manually, each leg. And eventually he couldn't understand what people were saying to him or remember who they were except for family. He was finding it hard to sleep with the pain, and the restless legs were becoming more extreme. And it was about this time that John told me that he thought he was about to die. I'd read an article many years previously about a girl who had contracted Lyme disease in Australia whilst visiting a deer farm in New South Wales. One day, walking through the city, we ran into a lady handing out pamphlets about Lyme disease printed by the Lyme Disease Association of Australia. The pamphlet reminded me of what I had read about this girl, the same symptoms, many years before.
I requested a Lyme disease test from our regular doctor. He didn't know who did such tests in Australia. We contacted the Lyme Disease Association of Australia, who gave us a list of doctors in Melbourne, amongst which was Geoffrey Kemp, a doctor who was specialising in this disease. He was booked out, but within a week or so, he got cancellation and went for the first consultation. Dr. Kemp arranged for a blood test to be sent to Germany, but even before the results came back, using clinical diagnosis, he began to map out immediate treatment. He was clearly able to recognise the symptoms of Lyme disease, which gave us great hope.
Actually, I remember after a while I became aware of who his Lyme patients were in the waiting room, because they were all huddled with hot water bottles and rugs around them because they were feeling so cold.
Dr. Kemp began treatment with Bacillin, and after 2 treatments my head began to clear. I no longer felt confused. Gradually, I felt my strength returning as the pain decreased. Dr. Kemp made a very important suggestion about the importance of getting to know your disease. We felt this was invaluable. We read avidly. There were many more books on the subject now than when we were doing our research. Knowing Lyme disease is caused by stealth bacteria is important because it can go into remission and appear to be cured only to break out again. It can disguise itself to avoid detection by the immune system, and thus the major defence anyone can have against it is to be sure their immune system is in peak condition to attack it whenever it raises its ugly head.
And that they have the medical backup to be able to push it back down and stop it attacking you. Lyme disease affects not just the person originally infected, but it can be passed to partners during sexual intercourse, from mother to child in the womb, and through blood transfusions. So it's a very frightening disease. Lyme disease exists in every country of the world. Why should the Australian medical fraternity believe that there is no Lyme disease in Australia? It's ridiculous.
I know that Dr. Jeffrey Kemp saved my life. If he'd not understood Lyme disease as well as he does and taken such swift action, I don't believe I'd be here today. That other patients desperately seeking relief from the terrible devastation of Lyme disease are being denied his expertise and caring treatment is, in our opinion, a travesty of the highest order. Thank you.